Okay, well, welcome everybody to Solar Noon Tuesday. And as per normal, what we do during these sessions is I'm gonna walk through some of the news from the solar industry for this week. Then we'll highlight some of the conferences, webinars, things of that nature that are happening in the not too distant future. And then we pick a topic to focus on. And this is an interactive format so that the folks who are online at the moment can pop in and ask any questions of each other or of myself. And I guess that's kind of it. Oh, the topic we're going to touch on today is basically about solar warranties. What are they? How do they work? Not just for solar panels, but for all of the auxiliary equipment like racking systems, inverter systems. How do those things work? This was a topic that came up. I didn't know the answers. The installer I was speaking with didn't know the answers. So we figured that other people might not know the answers as well. So let's go ahead and jump in. This is a weekly recap of the news for the week of March 31st through April 6th of 2024. I'm Jay Warmke with solarpvtraining.com. And let's see, the first item is the Ohio Power Siting Board approved actually the largest solar project ever approved in the state of Ohio. And it is the largest agrivoltaics project nationwide, the largest one in the United States. The Oak Run Solar Project, it'll be an 800 megawatt solar array with about 300 megawatts of storage added into it. And it's integrated with farming on this site, which is a unique feature of this. When solar is integrated with farming, it's referred to as agrivoltaics. This facility is going to serve as a showcase for the concept of agrivoltaics. They're promising to have at least 1,000 sheep and about 2,000 acres in crop production after the first year of operation. And by the end of 8 years, at least 70% of this facility will actually be under agricultural production. That represents at least 4,000 acres on the project. Now, the site is located just west of Columbus, Ohio. It's in Madison County. It's going to be on 6,000 acres of land that's owned by Microsoft founder Bill Gates, in large part, not 100% of it, but most of it. They're estimating that it's going to cost in excess of $1 billion to develop this project, and it's going to employ about 1,500 installers during the 4 to 8 year construction project. The 2022 Inflation Reduction Act, it provided for a 10% bonus, tax credit bonus, on all projects that use US-made solar components. Well, the only problem is there are no US-made qualifying solar panels at the moment, silicon panels. So there's a recent announcement here between two manufacturers. It's Suniva. Suniva makes solar cells in their facility in Georgia, and solar panel manufacturer Hylene, which has a facility up in Minnesota. And they've announced a partnership where they will be producing qualified made in America solar panels by mid-2024. So we'll start to see those come out on the market. Aurora Solar, which is a software company that caters to the solar industry, has released its second solar industry snapshot report. And this looks at residential solar trends within the US. Now, they survey about 1,000 homeowners and about 500 installers. And according to this report, about 75% of those homeowners who have not already installed solar said they haven't done so because the cost of residential solar is still too high, even though it's coming down pretty dramatically. 54% cited high interest rates as a barrier to putting solar in. 44%, and this I found interesting, said they could not confirm that the potential solar installers were actually trustworthy. So there's a very large credibility issue going on in our industry. 58% said that they were motivated to switch to solar because of increases in electric prices. In 2023, nationwide, the average cost of electricity went up about 5.3%. And over the last 10 years, it's gone up 30%. So we've been seeing pretty dramatic increases there. 66% of the solar installers that were surveyed said that their business did expand in 2023. 75% of those installers said they're seeing a lot more interest by customers in storage, so integrating batteries in with their solar. And about 78% of their customers, according to the installers, were actually motivated to get solar because of the recent purchase of an electric vehicle. So if you're looking at finding customers, I guess just figure out who just bought an electric vehicle. Okay, so let's see. I've got to roll up here. The IRS has issued guidance on how commercial solar systems will qualify for the additional 10% energy community, we'll put that in quotes, energy community bonus on the tax credit that's under the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. So as I just mentioned, you get 30%, which is just for residential and commercial. Commercial customers can also qualify for 10% if they use US-made products, and they can qualify for 10% if they're considered an energy community. So that would bring the tax credit all the way up to 50%. Now, some of the ways that you can qualify for this 10% is if you're in a census tract that is where or immediately adjacent to where a coal mine closed after 1999, or if a coal power plant has closed since 2009. I always think of this as like the Joe Manchin provision of the Inflation Reduction Act. Or if a tract, one of these census tracts, has a significant number of people in it who are employed by the fossil fuel industry, it's 0.17% of the workforce, or if 25% of the local taxes come from fossil fuels like extraction, transportation, processing, things like that. If it's a poor area, if the tract has unemployment rate equal to or greater than the national, less than the national, no, unemployment greater than the national average, then it qualifies. Or if it's a brownfield site as designated by the EPA. So no wonder they have to come up with additional guidance. These things are not overly simple, but there is a great website. I've got the website on the screen here. It's energycommunities.gov/energy community tax credit bonus. And if you're wondering if your location fits this energy community profile, you can simply go there. It's a map. You type in your address and it'll pull it up and it'll tell you if that specific location will qualify for that tax credit. So that saves all your figuring out how and why. All right, Suniva and Home Depot have announced a strategic partnership where they're going to expand their solar offerings within selected markets. In 2021, they began offering solar products in about 100 Home Depot outlets in Florida, Virginia, and Maryland. And now they're announcing that they're planning on expanding this solar availability to about 2,000 stores nationwide. And that is the news that I uncovered in the solar market for this week. Does anybody have anything they want to add into that mix here before we jump into the next section?
Hey, Jay.
Yeah, Eric?
I just had a question about that additional tax credit. So if you were a landlord, is that a way for you to get around the residential versus commercial thing?
I believe so. If it's a commercial property and you own it and you're paying the electricity, because obviously if the homeowner is paying the electricity, then they would have to put on, or if the renter is putting on the electricity. But I think it qualifies. I think it, and also there's an additional provision if it's low income housing. So yeah, definitely if it's multifamily. But there is another provision, and I'm a little unclear on that, that if it's qualified as low income housing, they give it even more. I think another 10%. So you could get up to 60%. I might be misstating there, but it's something like that. Plus, as a commercial enterprise, you can actually depreciate. You can depreciate this project as well. And a certain percentage of your tax credit is actually depreciable. I think in 2024, 60% of your tax credit can also be depreciated. So it's a bit of double dipping there. So there's a lot of benefits if you're a commercial entity that's looking to put solar on your property.
So I'm sorry, you're saying that, so I thought tax credits were, right away, write off that amount on taxes. So you're saying I can depreciate a tax credit as well?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, what you would do is, let's say that you spent $100,000 on your project and you get $40,000 in tax credits. All right, let's say you qualified for that. Well, then you can still claim that your basis is the $60,000, the cost of it minus your tax credits, plus 60% of the tax credit. So you can actually increase the basis by 60% of the tax credit. So it's money that you didn't even, ultimately you didn't spend, but you get to then depreciate it.
Jay, do you know where's that extra 60% coming from? Just
it's in the IRA.
Okay.
And it's stepping down. Last year it was 80%. This year it's 60%. I think next year it's 40, then 20, then goes away.
Okay.
But it's like a little double dip on these. Yeah, you're the tax
clearly,
guy.
yeah, it's clearly a double dip, which they don't really usually. That the way you described it until you got to the 60% was exactly how we usually do it. That's why I was curious where the extra 60 was coming from. I'll go back and check. Thanks.
Yeah. My understanding is it's just a bonus incentive, and who knows why they did it?
Oh, they're just shoveling money out to people to do this. So yeah, I don't not surprised. I'm just hadn't heard that part. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we run into a lot of these commercial systems now when they're looking at getting REAP grants, because for rural businesses, you can get up to a 50% grant for the REAP. Well, then when you start adding energy community, American made, depreciation, it actually gets to, you're making money by installing solar. You can get to where they're paying you to install the solar, assuming you're a profitable business that is paying taxes. But even if you're not profitable and you're not paying taxes, now the provisions say you can sell those tax credits to third parties.
You can sell the credits. You still got to figure out how to use the depreciation. You're right, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Sure thing. Okay, a little tax webinar here as we're going forward. Okay. All right, well, let me jump into some of the, speaking of webinars. So there's a upcoming solar tracker project on April 24th at 2 p.m. That's the first one I've had here. And post-sale workflows, April 25th at 2 p.m. Again, all of these times are Eastern time, and I'm not giving you the web addresses. You can search these things out just to let you know these exist. On May 20th through the 23rd, ACES is going to be holding their annual solar conference in Washington, D.C. at George Washington University. And on June 12th through the 13th, Solar and Storage Summit in San Francisco. And then our shameless plug for solarpvtraining.com, where we have our online courses and our in-person courses coming up, and you can go to that website to find out what's coming up. Okay, so that is the news and events that I'm aware of anyway. Not that many events going on at the moment. So let me jump. Yeah, go ahead.
I just posted a link on the chat for up. We have some webinars coming up in the month of April in case anybody might be interested.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And I'll take those and include them for next week assuming they don't happen between now and next Tuesday. Okay, great. So, yeah, one of the things that came up in discussion this week was discussion about warranties. And I'll tell you what prompted this was an installer that I work with a lot was actually moving a end-phase system. The homeowner moved and wanted to take the system with them. You know, they wanted it off of their old house onto their new house. And there were some questions about how does that affect the warranty? How do you re-register the project? Because with these systems, you've got to link it in and the communication, and it's causing all these issues. And so we started talking about, well, did that void the warranty? Did it not void the warranty? How would you file a claim on this? And we were all kind of going, I don't know. So I thought I'd look into it and try and give you guys a little bit of background about solar warranties. There's actually quite a lot involved in these solar warranties. So the first thing about solar warranties, well, first off, the materials that we're talking about in the solar system, I'm not going to get into everything, but the ones I was going to focus on are the solar panels. And that's what most people think about when they're talking about solar warranties. There are two different types of warranties here. There's product and there's performance. We'll discuss that. Racking system warranties, inverter warranties, optimizers, batteries, and then installation. So that just gives you a little bit of an overview there as to what I'm going to try and cover, assuming I have time. One thing I run into on this a lot is people will refer to as tier 1, tier 2 panels, tier 3 panels. And people think that's an indication of quality for their solar panels. Well, it's not. It's basically a financial rating that was developed by Bloomberg that basically says, is this company, you know, financially secure? That's how they were doing. They were looking at it from an investment standpoint. A lot of people will use this as an indication that if it is a tier 1 company, it's probably making a quality solar panel, but that's an assumption. It's not part of that rating system. If you look at the number of panels that are out there on the marketplace, about 2/3 of them are going to be tier 1 panels. And the remaining about 98% of the rest of that other third are going to be tier 2. Tier 3 is startup companies and some, you know, you probably don't want to buy those. I mean, it could be a good startup, but it could just be some cheapy little panel that comes through Alibaba or whatever off the back of a truck or something. So that's probably not something you want to put on a house or a commercial project. So basically tier 1, tier 2, they're going to be almost all of the panels on the market. So I just say that so you don't confuse the fact that that's not a quality rating. Now, there is a quality rating out there called the PVEL. I don't know if they call that PVEL or whatever, but this is a system where panel manufacturers submit them to this evaluation process, and they look at a whole bunch of things in the manufacturing of the panel. So if you are wanting to look at what is the top rated from a quality standpoint of panels, you can go to that, the web address there, scorecard.pvel.com. That'll take you in there and you can look at more information than you ever wanted to know about solar panels. All right, so let's get into the warranties here with the product warranties. And a product warranty or a material warranty on a solar panel basically covers the structure of the panel itself. These are defects in manufacturing, mechanical issues. If the panel just wears out under normal conditions, that could be materials or a product warranty issue. Normally, you're going to see the problem when you unpack it. You know, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be loose wire. There's going to be a busted something. These things normally don't deal with shipping issues. That's going to be between you and your shipper. If obviously somebody ran a forklift through the middle of the panel, that's probably not a production issue. But if the lamination is separating on the panel or something like that, it's normally obvious when you're unpacking. These things typically run 10 to 12 years. on that. But as I said, you're normally going to see it right off the bat. The manufacturers of solar panels are pretty good at replacing them. If you find a defect, they're going to say, yeah, okay, send it back. We'll send you a replacement. Well, that's great. But does the warranty cover the cost of installation? Is there a limit to the amount of money they're going to pay for installation? What about shipping? If you've ever paid for shipping of solar panels, that can be significant. That can be as much as the cost of the panel, you know. So if they're saying just ship it to us and we'll ship you a new one, but we're going to charge you shipping both ways on that, that's not a really great situation. What about transferability? So if I sell my home, is the new homeowner, does the warranty go with them? If so, how? How do we make that happen? If I move it from one place to another, let's say, and we run into this periodically where one person buys them, doesn't use them, sells it to somebody else. How is that transferable? Are there any exclusions to the warranty? Like most of them will exclude if it's things like extreme weather, you know, if it's damaged by, you know, a tornado, obviously that's not the manufacturer's problem, or if your house catches on fire, not if the panel itself has something wrong that causes it to catch on fire, but if it's external to the panel, those are normally going to be covered by your homeowner's insurance. So, you know, and typically you're going to want to make sure that your solar array is insured as part of your homeowner's insurance. You may have to put a rider on your policy, or at least make your insurance company aware that you've just installed solar. And then who installed the system? Some panel manufacturers require that it be installed by a certified installer, you know, somebody who's perhaps certified with their equipment or somebody who's recognized. So if you just do it yourself, it may void the warranty. So you're going to want to check with that. And not every solar panel deals in the same way with all these issues. In fact, Energy Sage did a really good profile on all of this, and I'll share some of those results where, for example, here they're showing some of the panel manufacturers and what they cover, what they don't cover. This is the product warranty. SunPower, you're going to see SunPower popping up at the top of these lists quite a lot. Their product warranty is not the 10 to 12 years, it's 25 years. You'll see some of these others, Panasonic is 25 years. Some of them even will warranty the racking and the inverter, but that's usually if it's part of a complete system that's coming through them. Silfab, 25 years. REC, Q-Cells, all of those have 25-year product warranties. So you're going to want to check those. Then you've got performance warranties. Performance is basically, the panel's fine. We expect it to decline in production over time. So how much decline of production is still going to be considered appropriate, you know, well within the warranty. So most of these are 25 to 30 years, and most of the solar panel manufacturers are going to say, all right, at the end of this 25-year period, we expect it to be producing at least 80% of what it did the day you installed it. So that means that every year you're going to lose about 0.7% under that scenario. Most of the warranties recognize the fact that solar panels don't degrade linearly. They degrade a lot in the first couple months after installation. You get light-induced degradation, lid, PIDs, you know, things like that. So they're going to say 2 to 3% in the first year, and then you're going to see a 0.5% after that. So these things will accept that, but this is kind of what's expected. It's not going to be producing 100% after 20 years. It's going to be producing something less than that. And these are the limitations. So once again, Energy Sage looked at some of these and their top performers. SunPower says that after 25 years, this thing's going to be producing, 92, 90% of what it was on the day of installation. Panasonic, around the same thing. REC about the same thing. Q cells 86%, Silfab 85. Start getting into 85, that's like 5% a year for 25 years. Or that'd be 87.5. Solaria industry standard, as we said, about 80%. So you can just check it out, see how it compares. This is going to be in the manufacturing information when you're looking at selecting a panel. For most people, this is done by the installer. You don't really say, oh, I want a Silfab system. So if you're an installer right now, you may want to check these things out just to see which panel. And you may also want to give them a call and just say, okay, what's the process involved if there's an issue? You know, how much hassle are you going to put in my way to try and get this thing taken care of? Some of those are going to be labor and shipping issues. So do they pay for labor? Do they pay for shipping? Again, Energy Sage looked at some of these top producers. SunPower will pay for the shipping. Now, I should point out some of these, like SunPower, Panasonic, those guys, they're premium priced panels. So you're paying for this. REC, they weren't sure about the shipping. Q cells, nope, they're not going to pay the shipping, and so on and so forth. So you can just sort of see that. But I'm not really 100% sure if you'll be able to like go and pick them up at the distributor. So if they'll pay for the shipping to the distributor, you'll have to work with that. You know, to discuss individually with these panel manufacturers. Then there's the big issue of transferability, and they use the term bankability. Basically, okay, if somebody's warranting it, just how sure am I that they're going to be in business to you know, actually honor the warranty? You know, if it's a company that's been around for 100 years, that's one thing. If they've been around for 6 months and they're giving you a 25-year warranty, you're probably a little less secure in that. So we'll look at some of these things on transferability, and we see that oftentimes some of these, the really good ones, they just automatically transfer. You know, they don't really care who owns it. As soon as there's a problem, they'll just deal with it. Other ones, you've got to go in and actually transfer the panel from one owner to another. So that's something to bear in mind when you're looking at this, because, you know, if you don't do that, then if there is a problem, it may not be within warranty. And I think, yeah, I did in the next slide here. I'll leave this up just a second if you're curious about some of these guys, like filling out. But I did look up Panasonic, I think, just to see what was involved. And it's not a big, hairy deal. You know, you just kind of go into their website, and it's usually going to be done by the installer, whoever is moving this panel from one location to another, or, you know, if a new homeowner comes in or whatever. So you just go in and you say, okay, what's the date that it's being transferred, and what's the name of the installer who's filing this, and or the homeowner, and you just let them know, you know, I'm now the owner of these. Some of these are going to require that you have the original proof of purchase. So that's something to deal with. If you're a homeowner, you may want to make sure you've got some file there in your documentation that keeps all of these things in one location, all your original receipts, so you don't have to dig back 15 years to try and find out, you know, who you bought this thing from and when. If you're buying panels from somebody else, maybe you want to get a copy of their original purchase. I don't know if the secondary market is going to be proof of purchase or not. You know, you go and buy it from your brother-in-law and he gives you a receipt. I don't know the Silfab's going to consider that legit. So you may want to make sure that if it is in fact your brother-in-law is legit and has a receipt, you get a copy of that, you know, so that you can transfer these things properly. All right, so then warranty claims. So let's say you got a problem and you want to go in and you want to file a claim. Well, who are you filing it with? That's a big issue. Some of these companies are very large. So is there a parent company, a subsidiary company? How do you do that? Hopefully their website's going to be pretty self-explanatory. Just go in, how do I file a claim? And it directs you to the right location. but maybe not. So as an installer, if you go through the process and you find a company that's a problem, you might want to make other people aware of it. Say, yeah, they say they got a good warranty, but you really have to jump through the hoops to get it done. So can the owner submit the claim, or does the installer have to submit the claim? Now that can be a big problem. We've run into a lot of people who the installer's no longer in business. They don't know where they are. They don't know how to find them. And now they've got a problem. So they get another installer to do it. Well, how do you walk through that? If you've got the original receipts, probably not a problem. The installer will deal with it. But something to just consider as you're walking through this. And does the installer have to go and actually diagnose the problem? Or will they just take your word for it? This panel has a problem. Okay, prove it. How do you prove that? It's just not doing what I think it's supposed to be doing, so that's going to be an issue. And as we mentioned, does the panel transfer automatically, or do you have to register for that? Do you have to file some sort of paperwork with the company to just say the new owner is now this person? And that's something like if it's something nobody's going to think about, right? If you just buy a new home and it's got solar array on the house, one of the things they're not going to think about is, oh, I better register those solar panels under my name. So if you're in this industry or whatever, you better, try and just spread the word that these are things that probably should be taken care of at the time that you're moving into the new house, or, as soon as you've finished unpacking your dishes, we'll do other things first. All right. So with all of these things that are factored in, what did Energy Sage say? Who did they think did the best job? Well, far and away, they're talking about SunPower. SunPower, real premium product. Their panels, their warranties, their process, all of these they like. Panasonic also good. REC often good. Also good. Certainty, I wasn't even aware of those guys, but they're good apparently. Q-Cells, Silfab, Solaria. The industry average, if you see there, they're saying 1 is average, and a company like SunPower rates 23. That's significantly good. So just thought I'd mention in case you're in the market for some solar panels and willing to pay the premium. All right. So anybody have any questions on solar panel warranties at the moment? I'll take a breath on that just to let you guys jump in if you've got a question. Second. All right, so then I'll just continue on, and you can just jump in and interrupt if the mood strikes. Racking systems to me, again, as soon as you unpack it, if it looks good, these things are usually just hunks of metal. They're not a lot that's going to go bad with them, but the warranties are typically dealing with workmanship, material defects, 10 to 20 year. I think they break them down into 2 main areas. I picked on Iron Ridge just because I'm very familiar with those guys. Their warranty specifically states that there's a 5-year warranty on any superficial issues like blemishes, peeling of any laminate that might be on it. A lot of these are going to be obvious when you unpack them, but 5 years for that. But if it's structural, if it really impacts the integrity of the system, then it's a 25-year warranty. They have a lot of exclusions. If it's damaged in shipping, if you damage it while you're storing it, that's not really their problem. That's going to be an issue with the shipper. If you drive a forklift into it in the warehouse or whatever, that you can't blame Iron Ridge for that. If you've altered the product, so, if you've made changes to it, added stuff, welded things onto it, whatever. If you've installed it contrary to their instructions, I don't know that they're trying to do the weasel wording kind of thing of if I can figure out anything to avoid this warranty. I think they're kind of legitimate on this. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of risk on these things. They are transferable. The warranty is transferable as long as it's still installed where you installed it in the first place. So they're not apparently going to warranty it if you take it off one roof and carry it over and stick it on another roof. But if ownership transfers, it just transfers automatically, but you've got to have proof of purchase if you file a claim. So once again, you better have the original receipt. So as a homeowner, you're going to want to put together a file and keep all of these original receipts or copies of these receipts in your along with your permits and along with your maintenance and all of that documentation. Keep it in a place that the new owners will be able to access as well. All right, then we get into inverters. And inverters, these are things that definitely, if you're going to have a warranty issue, it's probably going to be in the world of inverters. So there are a few issues to raise here with inverters. Are these things transferable? If they are transferable from one owner to another, are there fees associated with this transfer? That's something that hadn't even occurred to me, but apparently that's pretty common. You've got to pay them some money if you're going to transfer this from one person to another. Is a certified installer required? And more with these inverters, they're requiring that. Even at the residential level with Enphase and SolarEdge, which are the leading players in this game in the residential marketplace, they're requiring that it be commissioned by a certified and trained Enphase installer or a certified and trained SolarEdge installer. So you've got to be in their system if you're going to be dealing with warranties. If you're really reinstalling the equipment, does moving the equipment and reinstalling it somewhere else void the warranty? As near as I can tell, in the world of Enphase anyway, it does. I couldn't find anything to the contrary, and I found some statements that said, yep, you move it from one building to another, one home to another, it's toast. I don't think it affects it, for example, which happens frequently, where somebody's going to work on the roof. You take everything off of the roof, fix the roof, now you reinstall it back on the same location. That's not going to void the warranty. But if you take it from a homeowner moves and they want to take their system, put it in another location, as near as I could find, the system will still work. But the warranty will not be valid. So, and there may be some difficulties getting everything lined up. You might have to just keep your reporting as if it's at the old location, as far as Enphase is concerned. They were dodgy on that, and their question and answer wasn't very clear. You may be able to change the address, but if you could change the address, I don't know if they're going to be happy about that. They're weird that way. Wiring cable management, that was an issue that was raised. Is the wiring cable and the connectors, are those all part of it? I didn't think that was a big deal. Wiring cable is typically not gonna fail unless acted upon by an outside force. So, whatever. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Acts of nature, typically they're not going to cover those. So if it's damaged by extreme weather events, lightning strike, something like that, hurricane, tornado, flood, it's not going to be covered by the warranty. That should be a homeowner's warranty thing. All right, so what are some of the warranty provisions? I just pulled this up again from Energy Sage. So typically for a string inverter, the product warranty is going to be on average about 10 years. Microinverter is going to be more like 25 years. Optimizers going to be about 25 years. A lot of that is because they're solid state components. So there's just not a lot of the things like in a string inverter, you've got a fan, a cooling system, things like that tend to break down. The communication system are usually only warranted for about 5 years. So for instance, in an Enphase system with the gateway, that's only going to be about 5 years. The cost of labor associated with this typically is not going to be covered, although we'll get into some exceptions when we talk about SolarEdge and Enphase. Workmanship, if it's damaged when you get it, they say no here, but I suspect they mean, they're not covering the installer's workmanship, but for the component for sure. Shipping of the parts, they will pay for that. Transferability, yeah, but there's usually a fee involved. Are there extended warranty offers? Well, on some of the inverters there are. On some of them, like they're talking primarily Enphase, no, there isn't one. And what kind of reputation for it says variable. That tells you like nothing. Some guy had a good experience, somebody had a bad experience. That's basically where they're at there. I did make a note at the top of this diagram that moving it, at least with Enphase, seems to void the warranty. So you may find something different, but that's the best I could find. Enphase and SolarEdge in the residential marketplace have about an 85%, maybe even 90% market share. So it's good enough to compare the two. The inverter itself in SolarEdge, and just to refamiliarize yourself with that, there's a string inverter portion, a fixed voltage inverter, and then there are optimizers that are associated in the SolarEdge system, where the Enphase are just microinverters. So the microinverters are good for 25 years for the product. The SolarEdge, it's good for 12 years for the inverter and 25 years for the optimizers. You can buy extended warranties for the SolarEdge, and most people do, and they're not that expensive. Surprisingly inexpensive. Communication system, as I mentioned, is 5 years warranty. And then both of these companies will reimburse the installer for some of the labor associated with replacing these component pieces if there is a failure. They're showing 125, 250 there, and 125. The next slide, I've broken down the Enphase. It's actually that number is a little misleading. It's not. It's better than that, basically. Shipping of parts, yeah. Transferability, yes, with no fee. Enphase charges you a fee to assign one name to it. That when a homeowner takes over, it was $400, but in recent months they've reduced that cost down to $199. So not quite sure how they justify that fee, but they charge it. So so if you want, let's say a new homeowner comes in, moves into the house, and you've been asked to handle that transition, it's going to cost $200 there to reassign the new owner to that warranty. Then, as promised, the labor reimbursement for Enphase is if you're an installer and there's a problem, they're going to pay you $200 for every truck roll, to go out there to replace the product. Then they're going to pay you $25 for each Enphase microinverter. So that could be significant. If a customer has one microinverter that fails, Enphase is going to pay you $225 to go out there and replace that. If the gateway, the Envoy needs to replace, they're going to pay you $25 for that, plus the roll, So if you're doing them both at the same time, that'd be $250. You got to replace an IQ battery. That's a bigger project, $150 on that. $200 if you're replacing a defective system controller, and $25 for each combiner box. So they said 100 in this past slide. Energy Sage said 125. I'd say it's more like 225 minimum to do the work there. I looked to see how that happens. It looks like the installer first off has to be a registered installer with them. And then there's some paperwork that you got to fill out, and it's going to take you probably 2 months before you get your check. And hopefully you'll get it without having to hassle too much about it. And then there's the batteries. I didn't want to go into too many of these batteries because there's a whole bunch of them and most people don't have them, but made SolarEdge and Enphase battery warranties just to give you a taste of it. The SolarEdge and Enphase, their battery system is essentially warranted for 10 years. Enphase has some cycling provisions there, limitations. They anticipate that just like solar panels, it will not have the same capacity that it had at the beginning. It loses storage capacity. And they're expecting, looks like 30% over 10 years, so 3% a year. I don't know if battery losses are linear or if they're like solar panels where it happens up front, but obviously they're looking at about 3% a year. They're not going to pay you for the labor, except as we said in the last one there, where they'll pay you here, the end phase will pay $350. So Energy Sage was wrong. Shipping of the parts, that's good that they do pay that. And yes, they are transferable and just part of the system. That fee for the end phase, when you transfer a system, it's for the whole system. So you're not paying a fee to transfer each component part. You're just saying, okay, here's the system as it's recorded within the end phase database, and now it's going from this owner to the other owner. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Question on the batteries. Did they have any limitations on the amount of the level of discharge? I just bought the battery system. It's got the same. It's got 70% after 10 years. One of the comments they made to me was that they anticipate not a 90% discharge, but a 70% discharge to keep it at best. And I don't know if they didn't say I had to do that to meet the warranty, but I'm curious if either of the other two did.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's a lead acid system when they're talking about depth of discharge.
No, it's ferrous. What do we call it? Lithium iron ferrite, whatever it is. It's
okay.
New ones.
All right. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not 100%
I never heard that
positive.
for lithium. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I thought that's all controlled by their battery management.
BMS.
System.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that you with Enphase, I don't know that you have the ability to modify that.
Okay. I have not. I bought them, but I have a new set. I haven't put it in yet. It just came last Thursday, and before I bought them, the guy had kind of gone through it with me and said they recommend a 70% depth of discharge just to extend it to the maximum amount. He wouldn't really answer the question on whether or not that was how they got to the 70% or not. That's why I was curious.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I don't have a good answer for you, but my understanding and different chemical compositions on lithium behave differently. But I thought one of the advantages they're always touting is you can go to 90% depth of discharge with any effect on longevity. So
that's what I thought too. That's why I was curious about the comment from the salesman. Okay.
Yeah, maybe he didn't know what he was talking about. So, or everybody else is ignorant and he knows.
It was at the manufacturer, so I hope he does.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Who knows? Or maybe his lawyer told him to say that. So
I would suggest that most of the reputable battery manufacturers are measuring throughput of energy, and that's how a lot of them are going to base their warranties. So the BMS is going to track the throughput, and their warranty will be based on whatever the cycle depth or whatever they consider to be, a kilowatt hour or how many kilowatt hours a cycle is, and then they're gonna determine it based on that throughput.
Okay,
that's how I've heard it explained from sitting in on many webinars with battery manufacturers and such.
Okay.
I wonder if
everyone does their own thing, so you're just gonna have to research your exact equipment and see what they say. Yeah. I
wonder if these battery management systems are smart enough to alter depth of discharge as the system ages. If it does have to just be babied a little bit as it gets older. So you'd think they would be. So
that's a good question. Yeah, I would say they, if they don't, they absolutely should build that in. I know that, they do talk about. I guess your percentage of or the state of charge would adjust as you begin to lose capacity. I think that's probably how it's designed to work.
Mm-hmm. Al, you've got a question there?
Yeah, I just wanted to share my experience. I had an LG battery installed in 2019, and it failed last year, so about 4 years in. And my installer came out, swapped out the batteries, got everything working fine, and there was no cost to me at all.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I had a similar experience with Enphase for my personal system. Had a couple of microinverters fail. They were the old ones from 2014. They were the M215s, which were a bit notorious for failing. And they just said, yeah, we'll ship you a new one in the mail. It arrived. I swapped it out. And they said, just keep the old one. We don't want that thing back. And the ones they sent me were brand new. So I was just hoping they'd all fail so that I get I get a whole brand new array. And
Yeah,
it
and
is interesting because the performance is actually better for those replacement ones. So clearly the new ones are better than the old one.
Yeah, my experience with the battery has been I've gone as long as 4 days in the winter with some sunshine, but not a lot, and have been able. I use a critical loads panel, so not everything's on it, and I've been able to go as long as 4 days without any grid power at all because the panels got enough so that you don't need a lot of sunlight to recharge that battery.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Let's see. The other last item here on installation or on warranties was the installer warranty itself. Oftentimes, the installer is going to warranty their installation, and most reputable installers are going to give a 5 to 10 year warranty on their installation. Typically covers the labor and dealing with any issues that might arise from the equipment standpoint. So they're basically standing behind their job and saying, hey, we did it properly, just give us a call. Of course, the limitation on this is, are they going to be around, for 5 to 10 years? They come and go, but hopefully, any installers out there, is this something you guys do typically? Anybody have their own behavior there?
We offer a workmanship and labor limited warranty for 10 years, which in short, it's basically it's exactly that, a workmanship warranty. We don't cover any labor in the event that something fails. So, but in our experience, we find it unnecessary to charge, because I feel like you're going to either have to charge accordingly at the sale, or just charge as needed once the problem arises. And with considering the reliability of solar systems, I feel that it's best to just meet those problems as they arise.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And one other item, which I hadn't really thought about, but this was kind of interesting. There are companies that will sell you essentially warranty insurance, or, so you can go out and buy, in addition to the existing warranties, insurance that is on your system. And in reading through some of these policies, they don't seem to be overly expensive, but the thing that I could see as an advantage there is just a single point of contact for handling all the different warranty issues. Ideally, your installer might offer something like that as well, where you just say, hey, as part of our workmanship warranty, we're warranting this for 5 to 10 years. We'll deal with any of your warranty issues. We'll keep track of your receipts. We'll keep track of your warranty documentation. And if there's a problem, just give us a call and we'll deal with the manufacturers. I think that's a nice sales tactic. I think most people probably do that as a matter of course anyway. But so if you're a homeowner and you're just really worried about all of this stuff, you can buy this kind of additional warranty insurance and add it on. And who knows, you can probably buy insurance to insure your insurance. So everybody's wanting to sell you insurance. Okay, so that is all of the warranty information I have. We've got maybe a minute or two if anybody's got any closing comments or questions. Give you just a second here. All right, hearing none, I'll thank you for your attention and we'll see you guys next week. All right, take care. Bye-bye.